garbage in, garbage stays. So you have to make sure no garbage enters your psyche, and your beliefs do lead your behavior. So if you don't believe you're good enough, you don't believe you can do it, you don't believe people are willing to help you, then you'll never ask.
You are an example that putting your mind into what you want to accomplish, you can do, no matter what your environment tells you or what it is. Your story is very inspiring, from growing up in the Middle East and moving to the United States as a teenager with very little money and no connections, and now being a part of numerous organizations and nominated for multiple awards. When you first moved here, what were some of the challenges you faced, whether culturally or professionally?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Elvis. I tell you, the challenges are the normal ones: homesick, broke, couldn't understand the language, got to start a new life, make it happen, demand to be tenacious and resilient and have grit and not give up, understand the difference between being discouraged and being disappointed, and just not giving up. The usual stuff, getting to know the place and the layout of the land, and get to know some people who somewhere along the way life can help me.
Yeah, and I faced some when I first moved here. I mean, I was pretty young, but even growing up, not having connections or not necessarily knowing what to do next. My parents are just hardworking people, and yeah, it's hard sometimes to try and chase your goals when all your life, and even your parents' life, it's been not necessarily chase your goals, but it's been like just make a living.
Yeah, but look at you, man. You got a nice look. You got more invested in that jacket than I have in my house. You're doing fine, I think. I think you're doing fine.
Well, thank you. You talk a lot about faith. How has faith impacted the journey to becoming who you are?
Yeah, well, I believe that God breathed in my nostrils to give me life and give me oxygen, without which none of us can live. I'm very grateful for that on a daily basis. I think God's hand is on the work, my life and my work, continually and sustainably. We're on God's side. At Hype University, where I'm president, of course, we say this is a God family country school. That's unusual today. I see a lot of people willing to say that, God family country. I went to a ball game yesterday, basketball game. The school didn't even do the national anthem, nothing.
Yeah.
And you go, what has become of us? Why are we like that? And so I'm a believer. I'm a Christian. I believe that God blesses those who understand the kingdom of God and give Him the grace and glory. And so I believe that you have to have faith and you have to have courage to make anything worthwhile happen in life. But you really have to have faithful courage. Not one without the other, faithful courage, because God is not a busboy. You can't pray to God to do the work for you, but you can pray for strength and wisdom and the art of the possible.
And the scripture talks about putting one foot in front of the other. When you can't see a clear path, how do you stay disciplined to continue to keep on that path when you don't necessarily know what it's going to lead?
Yeah, well, when you're an entrepreneur like I am, I was in business for 35 years before I became president of my undergraduate alma mater. You hardly ever see a clear path.
Yes.
You never have a well-lit path. And if you do, everybody can see the well-lit path. And everybody can compete with you, and so therefore you lose any distinction that you have. So somebody said to me a long time ago, you never have 100% of the information you need to make the right decision. Most of the time you have maybe a 70%. So that's where risk management comes in. You have to have the skill of risk management. If you take risk out of life, you take opportunity out of life. So what you have to do is not avoid risks, but manage risks. And that demands some skill and some knowledge and some experience, of course, some mentorship and so on. But also you have to have a sense of faithful courage that you can't. Now you have to be pragmatic. You don't want to put yourself in situations that are, seemingly unrealistic.
Right.
But you start something, and it unveils more information for you. Based on that information, you build the next step and then the next step. But you can't see it all the way through. It unveils itself.
It's hard to start But once you take that leap, I feel like it's a little
Yeah,
easier.
but you're going to be okay because your name is Elvis. If all else fails, you can start singing, man.
That's true.
Elvis has not left the house,
I gotta learn how to start playing some guitar.
Yes.
At the beginning of your journey as president, you raised 30 million in funding and went to 200 million plus. How did you manage the
We
fundraise?
have to raise close to $1 billion, so far.
Yeah.
Life is about relational capital. In all of these skills that you develop risk management, that's a big skill. Relational capital is a mega skill. That's the people who know you or the people you know. So the most important thing to do is to build a contact list, so to speak, that is made of people who can help you, understand you, can support you, who can advocate you. And for me, over time, I'm much older than you are, so over time I built a network of contacts and friends, and when I needed them for something, I called upon them, and they saw the cause, they saw the reason, they stepped up.
And talk about having relationships. I mean, you had, for some of the commencements in the past, Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice. You're having president of Duke University, Vincent Price. What does that look like in the beginning stages?
Well, in the beginning, you're not going to know these people, so you have to know people who know them and try to get them to help you. But in time, you develop a lot of relationships with people. In time, a lot of people know you and like you and are willing to step up and help you, right? So that's what happened with me early on. Maybe 40 years ago, I couldn't have done that. But after I came to High Point, I began to call on some of those people. And then once you have 2 or 3 people of big names and big celebrities who are supporting you on something, others follow.
Yeah.
Right? You get something called momentum, whether it's in real estate, whether it's in ministry, whether it's in running a university.
Mm-hmm. And you talk a lot about how you change is how you succeed. What are some lifestyle or behavioral changes you had to correct early in life?
Well, the first one is to make sure that, you understand that good habits are hard to develop, but they're easy to live with. Bad habits are easy to develop, but they're hard to live with. So what you're going to do is you make sure that your habits are right. You make sure that your beliefs are right, because your beliefs lead to your behaviors. Your behaviors lead to your results. So for me, I understood that I was created for a purpose, and that God has a plan for me, and I have to marshal that in the right direction. And to understand that, life is not, for example, about time management, it's about energy management. It's to put my energy in that which is worthwhile, that which bring outcomes that are meaningful. To understand that legacy is not what we should be seeking on this earth. Impact is what we should be seeking. Therefore, we need to be good stewards in all that we do and all that we have.
And I've been trying to work on that, especially the management part of it, because it's hard. And the more that I start to work on it, it starts getting a little easier, but you don't see it at the beginning. It's just...
No, you don't. At the beginning, you don't see anything. If you're trying to learn any skill, tennis, basketball, anything, at the beginning is going to be hard, but that's what makes life worth appreciating, right? When you earn something, you appreciate a lot more than if it came easily to you.
And you discuss success as a choice. How can individuals navigate challenges and consciously make choices that lead to success, both personally and professionally?
Yeah. Number one, you have to have heroes, models, and mentors who can be a sounding base for you, who can advocate you, you can run things by them, right? So you're as good as the environment in which you reside. Number two, you have to really be a student. Who's continually learning every day. Don't go to sleep at night without asking yourself this question: what did I learn today I didn't know yesterday? Number three, to understand that giving up is for the weak at heart. That you have to stick to it. That you understand you're not going to succeed every time. Last night, our men's basketball team lost. They have won 10 games in a row. They're undefeated at home, undefeated in the conference. Last night, we lost by 3 or 4 points. So that's life. If you're expecting to bat 1,000 every time, you're being unrealistic. But the people who make it happen in life are the ones who get up, dust themselves off, and get going again.
And to the people that they have a mindset that they can't do that, What would you recommend with someone with this type of ideology to overcome these?
Well, listen, garbage in, garbage stays. So you have to make sure no garbage enters your psyche. And your beliefs do lead your behavior. So if you don't believe you're good enough, you don't believe you can do it, you don't believe people are willing to help you, then you'll never ask, right? You wrote me and asked me to be on this podcast. What if you're intimidated and you didn't ask? Right? Things don't happen for those who don't ask. The Bible says, ask, then you shall receive.
Yes, sir.
So it doesn't say ask and you shall receive easily, quickly, immediately, in exactly the same size and shape you desire. But it says, yeah, people step up and try to be helpful to you. So mindset is something that you develop yourself. You should have a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. You should see the art of the possible, what lies ahead, and that yes, you can.
At Juliant, we're with you at every milestone, and your brightest dreams never have to fade. At Juliant, we help you shine. That's brighter banking. Juliant Federal Credit Union.
What is one of the biggest achievements that you are most grateful for, whether it's professionally or personally?
Yeah. I'm not particularly, I don't list among my major achievements the big awards I've gotten. I've got some very national important awards or degrees or building businesses. While those things are worthy and worthwhile, for me, my greatest achievement was as a poor kid, starting a business at age 24 with a little money that I had, $500, to start a scholarship fund because somebody helped me to go to school. And we have given now 800 to 1,000 students scholarship to go to college, including some at UNCG. And so that to me is a work that is not publicized too much, something you don't win awards for, but it's very meaningful, very fulfilling. So I tend to appreciate and be proud of the impact that we do with someone else's life rather than what happens to us or what we personally achieve.
So talk about impact. How do the choices that we make impact our personal transformation?
Well, they impact it 100%. If you choose to make bad choices, you're a drug addict, you can be a drug addict very easily, hang on a bunch of people drug addicts. If you want to be successful in life and have significance in life and not have fans, fame, and fortune as your goal, but your faith, your family, and your friends as your goal,
Sir.
then you're going to make significantly better choices. But choices are made properly when your values are clear. So what comes ahead of choices are values. What is it you believe in? What is it you value? What are the principles upon which you found your life? And if someone asked me to go out tonight and get drunk with them, my answer could be given in a split second. That doesn't interest me. But if I wasn't sure of that, I might say, well, yeah, let's go. Yeah,
let me think about it.
So you have to have a clear values of life and adhere to them. At Hype University, our values are God, family, country. And so everything we do are connected to that, right? So life becomes easy, decision-making becomes easier, choices become easier.
One thing I wanted to ask you about was when you were in college, you were a junior, you bought some land, saying you're paying $17 a month.
Yeah.
How did you choose to do that over paying for your next meal?
I did pay for my next meal. It just wasn't a great meal. I learned early on that bit by bit, you can build something. Inch by inch, life is a cinch. You're not going to become wealthy by looking to win the lottery. You become wealthy by saving $1 at a time. You understand the value of time in the market versus timing the market. And so real estate interested me, and I began very, very early. It's true, I forgot that story. It's true, I paid $17 a month. They gave you a little book and you clicked up your check with it. Yeah. We didn't have computers in those days. Later on, I started buying houses. And I would put 20% down and borrow 80%. And I accumulated a large, a base of assets, which I later on gave away to charitable organizations, including High Point University. But you see, the people who achieve wonderful things in life tend to be disciplined. They're disciplined about their life, about what they eat, where they go, who they hang around with, how they invest their money, how they make decisions, where they choose to invest their time and energy. And so, I'm not sure at that time I had wisdom, But what I had was a desire to do something. And I knew you had to take the first step, just like a baby takes the first step and falls. That land never made, did turn to $1 million piece of land, but it was a piece of land in the mountains. Looking back, probably you couldn't have even built on it. But it was a great way to discipline my life. The same thing with retirement funds. Amazing how many people would choose not to put money in a retirement fund, even though the company will match that fund, for example. And they wake up one day, they don't have any means, and they could have. Doesn't matter how small it is, doesn't matter how little it is, they could have built something if they'd only made those choices.
And I wanted to start doing that. That's why I started real estate last year, to try and build something.
Yeah.
And I've come across some of, like you said, put 20% down, and that's sort of what I've been trying to do with some people that just own a lot. I have someone who said he has a lot, and he was like, we can work something out.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's how you start. This is how you start.
So you talk about excellence not being an act, it's a habit that you acquire through consistent training. What are some of those habits, and what did that training look like for you?
Well, for me, habit is, early to bed, early to rise. I wake up no later than 4 o'clock in the morning and work for about 3 hours. Habit for me is to always be kind to people, always be civil, always be responsive and responsible, even though sometimes it has a great cost of time and energy. Habit for me is to be engaged. Habit for me is to learn something new every day. Habit to me is to take care of my health, get an annual physical exam to make sure that is in order. Habit for me is to make sure that I believe in the words of William Barclay, who said, always give without remembering, always receive without forgetting. Yeah. So I have a lot of habits that I develop. They're not all good habits, by the way. I still like a Snickers bar. I'm not going to tell you that I lead a perfect life, but perfection should never be our goal. Excellence should be our goal.
What inspired you to prioritize creating value over pursuing income?
Well, first of all, I don't mind pursuing income. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think that you ought to do it in something you believe in, instead of being in something you don't like or dislike. Right. So, although at times in my life I did some things I didn't like. I didn't because it had to come with a package, so to speak. But for me, generally, I've always wanted to do something I'm passionate about. I never wanted to do a work that I was not passionate about. And if I wasn't completely passionate about it, I looked for ways to make it appealing to me, because my life was never easy. I began very, very hard. I went to school, I worked all day to go to college. I worked all summer, saved my money to pay tuition in the fall. Yeah. I started my first business with $500. Some nights I ate a bag of peanuts for dinner. That's all I could afford. I worked 16, 17 hours a day. I developed this tremendous work ethic, which, by the way, serves me so well at Hyde University as president, because many days I would invest 12 to 18 hours a day. Yeah. Now, that might include a ball game and might include, meetings and so on. But the point is, I don't mind it because it's not important to who I am. At the same time, I have a wonderful family, children, and grandchildren with whom I spend a lot of time. And so life is not, these things are not mutually exclusive. You can combine them and have a balanced life.
So you've accomplished a lot. Do you have anything on your professional or personal bucket list that you still want to check off?
That I want to take on or off?
Check off, like do it.
Oh, do it, check off. Not really. I don't have a bucket list. I don't have, maybe like a couple of places in the world I'd like to visit, but nothing serious. I never really focus on what I want out of life as much as what I can put into life. Mm-hmm. And as I put more into life, somehow life rewarded me in ways I had not expected. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a check. Now, if you mean professionally, like at Hyde University, sure, we always have aspirations and goals and needs and fears, and we try to address those on a daily basis.
I hear a lot of people say, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done things differently. Is there anything in your life like that?
Yeah, It's, it's wonderful to look in the rear view mirror and say, I could have, I should have, I would have. But I'm not sure that accomplishes anything. I would rather say, I will, I want, I look forward to, have a future view instead of a past view. The past is a wonderful place to visit. It allows a place to live. Some people still live in the past. And, but maybe looking back, I often wondered, I could have built probably a really big business and sold it for mega bucks, and I could have helped a lot more people. My children remind me, had I done that, I'd have been gone all the time. We wouldn't have taken summer vacations. I wouldn't have been ever present. So maybe life is, you got to give and you got to take.
Yeah,
You
it's
gotta
a balance.
decide what your priorities are. So I really have no regrets.
Well, I really appreciate you meeting me. You've given me a lot of things to think about, and I'm sure people listening to as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elvis. When they have next concert, you invite me to.
I will. I'll learn how to play the guitar by then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank y'all for your support, and we'll see you next time.